Hello everyone, I'm Harry, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to look at these, which are the K Plus modular power supplies from Anasounds. So before we get started, if you like this demo video at any point, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and hit the little bell notification for me as well. It really does help me out a lot, and that way you won't miss out on any of my future uploads. I actually have a coupon code for the K Plus as well, so if you like 15% off, there'll be a link down in the description and a code, Harry15, and you can use that to get 15% off. There's going to be affiliate links down in the description to every piece of gear I used in this video and to record my videos. These do help support the channel out further, so I'd really appreciate you go and check them out. So Anasounds are just getting into the power supply game, and this K Plus is their first venture, being a modular power supply with tons of flexibility. And then we have the daughter board, which is kind of like a little expansion unit that you can link together as well. One of the main features of this is that you can have up to 2 amps per output. On the big motherboard unit, there's 4 banks of outputs, with 2 of the banks having 3 9-volt outputs, which are sharing 2 amps per bank. There's also 2 other banks with adjustable voltages. In these banks, we have 2 outputs, and you can have either 9 volts, 12 volts, or 18 volts. And a really cool feature is that this doesn't affect the current being supplied by these outputs. Most power supplies that have an adjustable voltage, when you go to 12 or 18, it's actually dropping the current as well, but you can get the full 2 amps per output if you want that. One other really cool feature on the big motherboard unit is actually 2 24-volt inputs, so you can actually connect 2 mains leads to these inputs and get double the current that you would if you were using one. There's the daughter board unit, which is another module that can be connected to the big unit to expand your outputs. This has 2 banks of 3 9-volt outputs. Again, they're sharing 2 amps per 3 outputs. You connect this to the big motherboard unit through the 24-volt through, and you can connect tons of these together to get as much power that you'd ever want. The K Plus is also one of the quietest power supplies on the market due to the fact that the power transformer is on the outside of the unit, so it's not interfering with your pedals. It's kind of like a laptop charger, and you can connect it to the unit and have that power brick away from your pedals to reduce hum. As well as that, Anasounds have used several filtration stages to really minimize noise. Like I said before, it's fully modular, so you can expand with more motherboard units or the smaller daughter board units, all whilst using one power cable and connecting them via the 24 volts through. There's also brackets for these units, which you can use to mount the power supplies to different pedal boards. Some of the pedal boards Anasounds have tested it with are Pedal Train, Rock Boards, Acclam, Temple Audio, Palmer, or you could even just Velcro these to the bottom of your pedal board because the units are really light in themselves. Another really cool thing, on the big motherboards, it actually comes with another faceplate, with the writing the complete opposite way around. So if you've got it mounted under your pedal board, you can lift your pedal board up and the writing will be the right way. So it depends on how you've got your setup, but it's cool that they added this little feature in there as well. So many people, when they get into pedals, they really want to spend all their money on pedals, and for good reason, but they often overlook 2 things: good patch cables and good power supplies. Good power supplies can really reduce hum and make sure your pedals are operating properly. So in this video, we're actually going to use a cheap daisy chain power supply with 5 outputs on a pedal board, and then we're going to directly compare that with the Anasounds K Plus, powering the same pedal board, same patch cables, instrument cables, everything, so we can hear the noise difference and see how much better the pedals perform with a good power supply. And then finally, we're going to build like a medium-sized board using just the motherboard power supply to power all these pedals, some with very high current draws that would only be possible with such a good power supply. I mean, it goes without saying, a power supply like this can power the vast majority of pedals out on the market, especially when you get into pedals that have real tubes inside. They can be really current hungry and even have weird voltages like 12 volts, and the K Plus would have no problem powering this. So let's get into the main demo portion of this video. Okay, so we're going to first start with the cheap power supply with the daisy chain. Now, the obvious disadvantages to this is the daisy chain only has 5, so that's why there's 5 pedals, but we're going to use those same pedals with the K Plus. Another disadvantage is that you can only use 9-volt pedals, noise center positive things, and you're limited current wise because the whole power supply only has 1 amp, so you really need pedals together that are going to be less than that. Of course, this isn't a problem on the K Plus, as we'll see in the video. Now, the biggest thing that you're really going to notice is these cheaper power supplies with daisy chains are really noisy. So we'll plug it in and you'll see what I mean. So with all the pedals off, you can hear the noise coming through the amp, and this is only going to get worse when we use other pedals. This is because nothing's isolated, they're all running through a cheap daisy chain power supply, and this is what most people start with, and that's fine, but you can really hear the differences. Again, you get the background noise, the big limitations, and when I first got a good power supply, I actually noticed that my pedals sounded better as well. So let's play through some sounds anyway. Even though these are all rated together under 1 amp, it sounds like the collider's not working to the full power that it should be. It sounds much different than when I use the K+, but we'll carry on with some sounds anyway. Weird, it's like the reverb's almost non-existent. I'm sure it's not getting the current it says, even though these are all under 1 amp. Even more noise. Okay, so we've got the same pedals hooked up, and now we're using the K+ power source. Now I'm just using the big one for this because it's only 5 pedals, and of course we're using the same pedals, same patch cables, same leads, everything, same settings everywhere. So we'll just go through a couple of sounds again. Guitar straight into the amp. Okay, so now I've made kind of a no compromise pedal board. So we've got a bunch of different pedals. We've got the Zenith compressor and EQ, the Greer amps Lightspeed, the Automaton preamp Mark II from Chase Bliss, which is a pretty high consumption current wise. It's at 500 milliamps, and even some of the best power supplies only provide that from one output. And I don't know if you can see, but underneath we've got the K plus motherboards, and that's powering everything, and we've actually got one output spare on that as well. They're running into the Revival Trem by Origin Effects, the Revival Drive by Origin Effects, and then we go to our mod and delay and reverb. We've got the Lilium Phaser, Monument version 2, and Julianna, all from Walrus Audio, and then the Source Audio Collider for delay and reverb. Now the Collider is about 300 milliamps, that's pretty high. And of course, we've got all these modulation effects. If we tried to power all this off a single, even if we had more daisy chain outputs like on the cheap power supply, we just wouldn't be able to have all these on there just because of the current consumption. And of course, the noise was terrible on that anyway. So let's have a quick playthrough and see what this sounds like. So there we have it. That was a look at the K Plus modular power system from Anasounds. A really high current and flexible power supply. The motherboard having those 4 different banks, 2 of which have 3 9-volt outputs sharing 2 amps, and then 2 of the banks with the 2 outputs with 2 amps, as well as the variable voltage makes this really killer. If that wasn't enough, you can plug 2 mains leads into the back to get even more current. You can connect the smaller daughter board or another motherboard to this big unit through the 24-volt through, and easily power a massive pedal board with really demanding pedals. The K Plus definitely rectifies some of the issues with some of the other power supplies. The ones that I've been using up to now are the Strymon stuff, but on each output you're only getting 500 milliamps max, and on the variable voltage on the Strymon stuff, the current actually drops when you go to 12 and 18 volts, which isn't an issue with the K Plus power supplies. I'm actually going to be doing another video on my channel soon that gets requested a lot, and that's going to be like my home studio pedal board build, which is a really big pedal board with loads of different pedals, with loads of different power consumptions, and actually a switcher. And I'm going to be using all of Anasounds K Plus motherboards, daughter boards, everything like that to power that. So keep a look out for that on the channel as well. If you did like this demo video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little bell notification for me as well. It really does help me out a lot, and that way you won't miss out in my future uploads. I actually have a coupon code for the K Plus as well, so if you like 15% off, there'll be a link down in the description and a code Harry15, and you can use that to get 15% off. There's going to be affiliate links down in the description to the Anasounds K Plus and all the gear I use in this video and to record my videos. These do help support the channel out further, so I'd really appreciate if you go and check them out. Other than that, go onto my channel, check out some of my playlists. I have plenty more lessons, covers, gear demos, how to sound like videos, and anything guitar related. As always, I've been Harry, and thanks for watching.